Good afternoon, sports fans. Hey, yeah, welcome to the show. I'm just rolling a reefer, hang on. It must be Wednesday, and just after midnight in Amsterdam, here in Amsterdam. 4 o'clock back on the Pacific South Coast, as we like to call it. I'm Marijuana Man. Welcome to From Under the Seed Desk. Every week we join together with friends and family and smoke massive amounts of weed, talk about marijuana, think about marijuana, do stuff with marijuana. So we're glad that you could join us today. I'm joined here on the couch today by Rose.
Hello.
Glad to have her in the house. Kush Queen is, I think she's out collecting taxes.
That time of year.
As queens do. It's tax time in her kingdom. So the serfs are running amok out there.
Running away.
Yeah. Well, her kingdom's out in Port Coquitlam, isn't it?
I don't know.
I think that's what.
It is,
she
yes.
reigns over Port Coquitlam. Drives around in it's like a Pope mobile, but for it has a bubble on top.
Kushmobile.
The Kushmobile.
So joining us here on the couch too is Jeremiah.
Aloha.
Fresh
Aloha
from back from not being in Barcelona.
That's right. Yes, fresh back from the trip I didn't take to Barcelona. It was one of the best trips I've never taken. It was I really had a great time. I was on acid the whole time, essentially. So yeah, it was
you
good.
look like you fell asleep in the sun.
No, well maybe only on half
Didn't
of me,
spend
in a
much
windshield.
money.
Didn't spend any money. It was great.
Tripping, staring at the sun.
Yeah, didn't even make it to the airport. So
So your
really was.
flight got canceled because of a strike.
yeah, it did get canceled because of the strike. Lufthansa or Lufthansa, I don't know how you pronounce that.
Lufthansa.
Lufthansa. They went on strike. I really was literally on the way to the airport. I was sponsored by Sublimator to go to Spain, to go to Cannabis this time around again. And unfortunately, they went on strike and canceled the whole thing. Couldn't get me a new flight till the 22nd when Cannabis was over, so I canceled the trip. And then on my way back, the plane that I was virtually the same plane I was to take back, 1 hour difference. That's the one that crashed and killed
Get
everybody.
out of here. I was wondering if anyone from the event had boarded that ill-fated plane.
Well,
No, it was. In the end, I think it was all German, French,
I
and
saw that, yeah.
nationals from Europe or something.
A
But
couple of people from the States, and that's...
yeah, tragic plane accident
that's
coming
where
out
my
of
plane
Barcelona.
was to be going, though. My return plane. I was to stop in Germany on the way back with the same airline and everything. Like literally an hour difference in my flight plan.
That's a
so-
pretty normal back-and-forth flight,
Yeah,
if I'm
I think so.
understanding correctly.
Pretty
from
common.
Spain to the Germany, right? It's just
Probably very
like
common.
taking the bus.
They probably
for
do it
people.
1,000 times a day. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, flying around in Europe is different than flying around here. Holy cow. You can go back and forth across Europe about 4 times by the time it takes to get from here to Toronto.
Yeah, when people from Europe come here and you drive them somewhere, they're just like, they really they're
It's actually-
amazed at the amount of space, and that we do the same redundant thing with so much space.
Yeah.
Every town looks the same when you're driving through.
Virtually, they are safe. Pretty much safer than any other kind of vehicle that you can travel in. I think airplanes are the safest. They don't really crash that much compared to cars. Your chances of dying in a car are much greater.
I didn't get a chance to download the story, but one was sent to me by my crack reporter about an airplane made out of hemp.
Yeah, the aircraft of the future is about a year away.
Going to be made out of hemp and fueled by hemp. So talk about flying high then. And of course, that's what they would have used for this stupid headline anyway.
Damn it, then everyone can fly.
Yeah.
I said flying is the safest way to die.
Hi, CBD Airlines. How can I help you?
Flying high.
Made out of hemp.
High above the Pacific.
Now, speaking of headlines, recently we've had a couple big court cases going on here in Canada. One is the Allard versus Her Majesty Liz.
Mm-hmm.
And
I didn't know Kush Queen was in court.
Yeah. She's not a representative of the Windsor, House of Windsor. She's the Grow House of Windsor.
The other queen.
So the other case is Ted Smith versus the universe. And the verdict came down in the Ted Smith case.
Owen Smith.
Yeah.
Owen Smith, I mean. Yes.
Yes. No relation.
No relation to Ted. Friends of Ted's. But, yeah, the court upheld the idea that one should be able to have extracts and edibles.
Cannabis in any form.
And that's a good thing. But here's the unusual thing about the other case, Allard versus the Queen. Now, as probably most of you viewers know, Jeremiah was there tweeting the entire thing, so you got a really good sense of what was going on. And to me, like, it was very obvious that the Crown were fucking idiots, were lying, were colluding, were ill-prepared, had nothing to back up their wild statements that they made, and the judge was fully aware of that.
Exactly.
Witnesses who were claiming ignorance of the law.
So it looked pretty one-sided for our side, if you will, and I'm not being biased. Like, really, if we were losing, we were losing, but I don't think Conroy and Kirk were losing.
No.
But at the end of the day, when it was adjourned to decision by the judge, the media picked up the story that the Crown had already won. This spells the end of the mom and pop grow up. Went through every newspaper in Canada, that headline, and that point of view.
Picked up on the Globe story, yeah.
Yep, they just said, oh no, that's going to be the end of it, and the LPs. And I thought, no, isn't that interesting? I don't like that. Not one of them said, hey, if you paid attention to the case, this is going to get overturned. So I'm a little afraid that the fix might be in already. That they are going to not fucking go along with this, and they're prepping. Because if the judge does go along with it, it's the end of their licensed producer production fucking industry. Their $1 billion industry is going up in smoke right before the election.
Yeah. It would be a big blow to the Conservatives if the judge, even if he tells them to include the home grows in any way, that's going to be a major blow to the government, and they're going to have to reorganize their regulations.
It absolutely is, and at the very wrong time, too. And with the Smith decision coming down saying that it should be constitutionally legal to have pot in any form, that's going to make it even more difficult to go along with the Crown and the Allard case. So I'm hopeful because of the decision in the Smith case that the judge doesn't have his hands tied by somebody. I'm afraid, though, because I don't like the media. I don't like the slant that they took, because that was unreasonable slant, I thought.
Which one? The one in the Smith case?
No, the one in the Allard case.
Oh, the Allard case, that
Trying
first
to
one. Did you see the
predict
stuff
the
in the
outcome.
Smith case that the media did right before the case happened, right before that Friday? I think it was on Wednesday. There were 2 stories released about shatter being, it was like the new reefer madness, that shatter is highly addictive. Although those 2 stories, I couldn't believe what those police officers were saying, and the CBC and these other groups just went along with it, didn't question it, didn't publish any alternative opinion at all.
Where is that out from? That was from some little town in Ontario, right?
It was,
Which we all know is the hotbed of drug activity.
Oh, yeah, with that addictive shatter.
You know, with that shatter.
Highly addictive, hitting the streets.
That story actually is going around all over the place. Every Minneapolis right now is going berserk because of wax. Now, here's something that happened in Minneapolis. Couple of kids making some fucking shatter in the basement of Grandma's house set the place on fire. Were too afraid to even put it out or tell anyone. They just ran away. Now, poor Grandma ended up succumbing to the fumes of the fire. She died, for fuck's sakes. So that place, they're going berserk right now about wax and shatter.
Oh, man.
Now, I appreciate what they're saying about the potential dangers of the manufacture of this substance, but they're also including the potential danger of its use. Now, get fucking real. Like, come on.
Again, this is a thing that we revisit every 5-10 years.
Something. Yeah,
you know,
it's always
like
something.
the LSD is bad, or the like the marijuana is dusted with angel dust, or watch out for that shatter.
There's always some reefer madness thing every couple year or two. It's like
No, I smoke the shatter.
Skunk. You know, that's the thing in the UK. The skunk weed,
weed,
there was Kush that when it came out, it was like, oh, that Kush is different than the rest of it.
Something. We got to find something wrong with it. Well, I'm here to tell you that I smoke shatter, and it's no fucking different than marijuana. It's prepared differently, and it may have substances in it that might not be good for me, but aside from that, it's fucking no different. Yeah, maybe you're going to get really blasted the first few times you do it, but if you become a regular user of it, you don't. It's like smoking a joint. Every half hour you have a dab or however long.
Yeah, it's just like
right?
anything else.
Yeah.
It's like smoking hash.
I still
you
do
smoke
my
a lot
work.
of hash at first, regular chunk of hash, you're going to get fucked up. You smoke it over a time period and you do it a lot, it's going to be...
Doesn't do much. See, that's the thing. Marijuana is only so strong. Doesn't matter how you prepare it, how you concentrate it, how much you take. It's only so fucking strong.
Yeah.
You can't get exponentially higher the more you smoke it, no matter how it's been prepared.
Yeah.
Right? So, no, it's all bullshit is what it ends up being. Now,
completely.
Let me find my stories here. There was,
the same thing as with, like, other drugs as well. MDMA, when it came out as ecstasy, that was a big deal. And, this E, it's X or whatever they called it. And now it's Molly. And then when Molly came out, it's the same exact drug. They just called it something different. And there's a big scare about it again.
In the 80s, right?
Yeah.
You know, like
it's the same
like
shit.
Dabble do
NDA is
hey, here's
a
special guest going to join us here.
Jer.
Big Jer.
Jeremy, our store manager, general manager. Or is it sergeant manager? No.
No one can hear you.
Just do stuff. No one can hear you anyway, so it doesn't matter.
But if you don't,
he said, "I'm
they'll
very
know he's
grateful
not
and
around."
happy to be here." If you could read his lips.
Yeah, you want a microphone, brother?
I'm totally honored to be sitting on the couch with you guys.
Bust some rhymes, maybe.
But while we're
come
talking
on.
now,
Not publicly.
Jeremy's going to roll a beautiful snake in the grass for us.
Oh yeah.
Oh.
This is,
Nice.
we're dabbing here today, dudes. We're so addicted. Right?
That shatter, man. I'm a shatter addict.
Now, speaking of
That
shatter,
and Fenties.
shatter my illusions.
The fentanyl.
Tilray, this is another good thing for the Allard case, I think. Now, before I get to that, I want to talk about media coverage. We talked about the trials, but here's another story that's been running around Canada. The media picked up on this story about the medical pot for Army vets has jumped a lot from last year to this year, like 10 times. It went up from it costing the government $400,000 to $4.5 million.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Now, the reason for that is obvious because there's more fucked up army guys because of your warmonger and fucking out there in the world.
Yeah.
That's the reason why, but the media did not mention that. They say, oh yeah, there's more soldiers. That's it. But the main story was the excess amount of cost has jumped to $4.5 million, right?
What's it for the rest of their PTSD medication?
Yeah.
They didn't mention that
They
either.
didn't mention any of that either.
No.
Nothing. So, fucked up. You fucking fucks at the media. Huffington Post, Ottawa Citizen, National Post, The Globe, Toronto Star. You're all the same. Woodheads. You're not even fucking doing journalism anymore. You're just writing a story that came across your screen. Come on.
It's brutal to me
Cut
that
and
they
paste bullshit.
They never provide an alternative opinion to these things.
No.
They just provide, like the Shatter story. They didn't have any, they just have this cop spouting off these bullshit lies with no other person quoted at all.
Just like in
That's
court.
bad journalism.
Just like in court. The cop, the fire guy, all their fucking expert witnesses were making it up based on nothing. They couldn't prove anything, right? So here's
Apparently, we just went black for a second, and we're back now. It's
yeah, we're just gonna soldier on through the black stuff because that'll happen all day. So it's not your TV set. Well, that's nice. Congo? Sour. You want to smell that? Sour diesel. We're going to talk about that in a minute. Nice. Now here's something that happened this week in Canada. Is fucking Tilray had a recall.
Oh yeah.
Because of bacteria. Now, they recalled 3 strains. They called them strains, but they were actually mixes. It's their house mix. Their indica house mix, their hybrid house mix, and their sativa house mix they had to recall because of high counts of bacteria.
Jesus.
So,
now, they would seem to me that would include everything. Like if you're mixing all your stuff together in...
He's making his snake in the grass.
grass.
I want to take a picture or two of the snake in the grass process here.
Nice. Wow, we should have a snake in the grass cam.
Yeah, we
Who's
should.
in the chat today? Let's have a look. Green Supreme's there, for God's sakes.
Yeah. Here, let's
Broth the Smoke. Dwayne down south. I talked to Dwayne on the phone the other day, man. That's fucking cool. Doob. 28 days later. NVS. NVS. Oh, I get it. NVS. And Rose has a reefer roll too, I think, with some hashish.
Moroccan hat.
Dirty snake.
It's 20 after midnight in Amsterdam. So
fluffy thing.
1 minute to 4:20 here. We're busily preparing for 4:20 here in Vancouver.
Mm-hmm.
We have to go see the city in a couple days. See what they want to whine about. But yeah, there's the snake in the grass happening over there. What Jeremy is doing is taking a rolling paper. He's covered that with some marijuana, and on top of that, he has rolled up a big glob of the shatter, the very popular shatter in the. Not live res, but close to it. I'm not dead. So, now, Tilray, I went on Tilray's homepage and looked at the strains that they offer. They're all fucking recreational strains. Not one of them. They're all just right off the street. So I don't get this. I really don't get this, and I'm getting tired of the comparison, the separation between medical and recreational fucking marijuana. We don't have medical and recreational anything else in the world. Nothing. Like
happy 420, by the way.
Hempy 420.
Is it 420 where you people are out there? Trip C? Nice. Yeah. Well, I'm glad you guys made it into the chat today. Here in Vancouver, it's been fucking cold and wet. No fun at all.
Dwayne down south said he's using embassy papers. Oh, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
That's, wow.
Came into the back door.
Get your own embassies. Dwayne's embassies are called.
They're like Vogues, but they just changed the name.
I should do a dab, I think, somehow.
Do you know why they had to change the name to Embassy?
No.
No? I don't know either.
Vogue?
Maybe Vogue magazine was like, we're sorry.
I think Vogue has their own line of cigarettes.
I wouldn't doubt it.
In the UK, they still call them Vogue, I think.
They do, huh?
They do. Now, there was a new study, if you can believe that marijuana is stronger now than it used to be.
Oh,
again?
Wow.
They're saying it's 3 times. This is from Forbes. Alice, writing for Forbes magazine.
Oh, shit. Alice? Show that shit off.
Well, there's the snake in the
baseball
grass.
Bat.
It's a fairly
it's like
good...
call it a pig in a blanket.
Alice from Forbes.
It's got like a caramel center.
Oh, yeah. Snake in the lighter.
Snake in the lighter for the snake in the grass.
Butane, dude. So, here in Forbes magazine, new study, marijuana stronger now. Now here's the tack that Alice took in the story. THC is up, and it's because of breeding, that we've been breeding for stronger marijuana all these years. And in my view, I don't think that's true at all. I think people who've been growing marijuana have been choosing fast and good yielding over more potent, because potency's always been there, right? It's the conditions of your room that are going to give you the best potency, not the potential of the strain, because we will never reach it anyway indoor.
Right.
Right. So
every strain can be the best strain if it's grown at the best conditions, essentially.
yeah, I would have to think so. And whether or not they test a certain way today doesn't necessarily mean they're going to test a certain way tomorrow.
Yeah.
Now, here's the other tack that Alice from Forbes magazine took, was that not only are we breeding for more, not only are we breeding for more THC, we're breeding for less CBD. And she said that's a warning sign, because CBD is the medicinal part of marijuana.
Oh, that's a warning then.
And they're accusing the hippies of trying to breed CBD out of it.
Oh, jeez. Well, those hippies, you can't trust them.
And that we have to watch, and she suggested we have to watch much closer about the potency of marijuana because of this. Now that's odd. Here's the thing about it. Nobody really knows anything about CBD. Certainly not Alice from Forbes, because nobody's done any testing, because it's illegal to test marijuana. Huh.
I've
Yeah.
tested it on myself
Yeah,
extensively.
beyond us
I just tested
anecdotal
and I approve.
smokers.
Well, I mean, they refuse to accept the quantified evidence, right? It's like, you know, a lot of history or lawmaking. They just refuse to accept anything that you can't apply a mathematical formula to, or support with other academic data, right?
Well,
And under prohibition, it's impossible. You're
all,
right.
all they have to do is say it's a new study.
Oh. Did we just lose
Yeah.
our connection? I think we lost our connection.
Now,
These studies.
we're having some technical difficulties.
How much of just an offside side question, right? How much of that money that Colorado is making is going into proper research and development now?
I don't know. They're having trouble figuring out what to do with all the tax money they're getting in
Mountain
Colorado.
of money that's just piling up.
Oh yeah, they have a caveat in their constitution that suggests that the government cannot actually get a huge amount of tax all at one time from you, so they might have to give some back, and
They have to give it back.
they're also gonna. Oh, they've got to use it to educate the youth. The youth. The youth. Here's something about the fucking youth.
Lock them up.
I don't want to get too far away from the point, but here's a student update. I'm going to call this segment Student Update, or Don't You Just Hate Kids? Students attending schools with suspension policies are 1.6 times more likely to use marijuana.
Excuse me, say that again.
Ah, yeah, there you go. Say that again. Students attending schools that have suspension policies surrounding drugs are more likely to use marijuana than not.
Well, yeah, because if you don't have rules, then
And this surprised
gonna use marijuana anyway.
this surprised the teachers. But they did the math that it was 1.6 times more likely.
Plus 6, like 7 soft.
Yeah. Hey, Willie, can you turn down the music for me? And that guy. Yeah, well, Willie will be able to turn you down. That's okay.
Oh yeah, I got
Fly away.
Nice.
Yeah.
So,
The Ides of March are upon you.
Me? No, definitely not.
They're upon us all.
yeah, the cross-eyes of March.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Putting
Here's another thing that I ran across too was Danny Danko from High Times magazine. He's got some new book out, so NBC picked up and they made up this list out of the fucking blue that is called the top 16 med strains. Top 16
Med strains?
medical marijuana
Oh,
strains.
okay.
And I thought, well, I don't know how Danny Danko becomes an expert in what
'Cause he
are
writes for High
what are
Times.
good medical marijuana strains. I've probably smoked as much weed, if not like 1,000 times more than him, and I don't know what's good for medical. Like just by smoking the marijuana, and Danny in his review of these strains, he talked about having smoked them. And I thought, well, so what the fuck do you know about it? You don't have all these conditions to know if you'd get relief from it or not. But at any rate, they chose these top 16 strains. So when I looked at the strains, there are things like White Berry, one of them's called. It's Blueberry times White Widow, A-Train, which was Trainwreck times Mazar, Blue Dream, which is a blueberry haze. It just goes down the list like this. There's nothing new. Purple Kush, it's a Hindu Kush times a Pakistani Afghani. Romulan, like it's a fucking White Rhino times some sort of indica. Sage, an Afghani times haze. These are all very old hybrids. They're not new at all. The top 16 med strains have all got new names. They don't have new genetics, so it's all the same. So there was one on the list called Vortex by Subcool. So when I looked up what was in Vortex, it said that it was Space Queen times Apollo 13. Now, so that forced me to have to look up what these two hybrids were made out of. So when I looked up Space Queen, it turns out, to start with, they used Jack Herrera and crossed that with Shiva Skunk times Jack Herrera. And that made P50, which he then crossed with Jack Herrera, which made P75, and they crossed with Jack Herrera, and they made Cindy 88 and crossed that with Jack Herrera, making Cindy 99. And then they crossed that with Romulan. So it's Jack Herrera crossed with Romulan. And that's crossed with Apollo 13, which in its total genetic pool is nothing but Jack Herrera. Now, in most of these things you look, and the closer you look, it contains one of those three hybrids. I would say for medical marijuana right now, everybody should be smoking Jack Herrera.
Seems so.
There's only, when it started a long time ago, there was Northern Light Skunk and Haze to work with. Those are the three original hybrids. So, I don't know. All of these people saying all this stuff, right? And every fucking one of them, one of these strains on this list is recreational marijuana. What the fuck? Sage is, that's off the street. It's recreational. It's never been called medical marijuana.
What, these names?
Yeah, every one of
I've
them.
seen those used in dispensaries.
Oh, they
I've
use
seen
them in
all
dispensaries. It'd be nice if the medical users would hold up a bud now and then and go, hey, it's the same shit Greg's smoking. Don't put him in jail for it, okay? But no. I don't get a chance to go to court and say, where's my right to be able to grow my own weed, even though it's not hurting anybody, it's not dangerous electrically or in fire safety. That's just me.
Well, hence the wisdom of, countries that have the laws that every citizen can own or grow, X many number of plants at any given time.
Well, it won't be long before that's true. Now, even on Cannabis Culture's page, there was an article on the front page Cannabis Culture about the high THC marijuana that's out there in the world.
Oh.
That's right.
So I took a look at that list as well. Right. King Tut, 22 to 33% THC. Tahoe OG, 20 to 25%.
It's just a big piece of THC.
All right. LSD is a strain, 24%, they're saying. Okay. So I looked up the genetics of these strains. AK-47, according to Simon at Serious Seeds, who created the strain, it is the genetics of skunk number 1 only. He says it's a Colombian, Mexican, Thai, Afghani cross. That is a skunk number 1. So King Tut is an AK-47 phenotype. Right? LSD is a Mazar times skunk number 1. It's the same shit down the list. Critical Mass is a massively big strain in Europe. Everybody's growing it. Created by Shanti Baba.
Yes.
It's nothing more than an Afghani times skunk number 1.
It's just all different names for the same things.
It's nothing but the same shit. It doesn't matter. And there's people out there scrambling in the world looking for the fucking genetics, looking for the strain, looking for the real deal. And you go, there isn't one, dude. Go buy Jack Herrera. Start growing that. Go get skunk number 1 by the look of it. And that's what's been all through Amsterdam all these years. Skunk, haze, northern lights. That's all they've ever used. Around and around. They bring a Thai in now and then, or maybe Aryan goes out and finds some sort of other sativa they bring into the mix. Doubt it. Soma brought in some genetics that he got from a guy that we know here. He changed the name of that too. There is a strain that was around here, big skunk, big kryptonite skunk it was called. And the guy who had it claimed he used to grow with Soma back in the States in the old days, and then it showed up in Amsterdam as big Korean skunk. Big skunk Korean, he changed it to. Jeez. So that runs all through Soma's genetics, and that's this is the origins of New York City Diesel and these kind of strains, Chem Dog and all OGs and the fucking San Fernando Valley OG. These are all fucking phenos of a Kush, folks. They're just phenotypes.
Yeah.
And they're all, and it's going to change, and you don't even know. Was this the Tahoe Kush? Oh, I don't know. It tastes like the fucking, who knows? Who cares? Doesn't matter. Someday maybe we can nail it down, but not right now. Mm-hmm. So people should really stop spouting off about marijuana like it's a fixed thing, that we know everything there is to know here, and the conclusions that we need to come to are based on.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Even these percentages, I mean, give me a break. 30% TH, like what does that even mean?
Okay, well, that Forbes,
I guess.
It doesn't, to me,
what
it's
is it
never
30%
meant
of? 30% of what?
I've smoked a lot of marijuana today alone, but a guy one time brought me 6 strains that he grew, had each one of them tested. And they were testing 14 to the highest one, 22%. All the weed was garbage. He was a horrible grower. He fucked it all up. I would have never bought it. I did not want to smoke any of it. He made me smoke the one, but the strongest one, and it was horrible. And you go, okay, well, I don't get what these numbers now mean to me. They don't mean shit. You can say that, AK-47 is testing at this. Bullshit. How am I going to do that? How can you guarantee that I'm going to get that out of my room because you said AK-47 is this, right? 22%. Bullshit. What if you don't have any lights on in the grow room? It's not 22% then. Okay, maybe you got one light on instead of 5. Right? It's going to be a big difference between the quality of the marijuana that comes off the 5 lights than the 1.
Yeah.
And it could be AK-47. Is it going to test 22% THC? Like,
Does that have a direct effect on the actual test? And like
and would you want to smoke
after
it?
Shock Phil here was answering my question as to what is that percentage of, he said of the weight of the bud. But if we're talking about the weight of plant material and the weight of actual THC that's in the tip, only the tip of the capitate stalk trichomes, how the fuck could that possibly be 30% of anything? I just don't understand how the little teeny tiny bits of THC that make up that giant piece of bud, you know, the plant material makes up literally 99.99% of it. That if it was an actual physical weight amount of the THC, it would have to be 0.0 something percent. Like it just, there's no way that's possible.
Here's what comes off the plant.
Yeah.
That's marijuana. A little bit of butane. That's marijuana right there. Not the leaf. Leaf doesn't do shit. Doesn't have any cannabinoids in it. On it. They scrape this off, and there it is.
Yeah.
How much of this do you get from your bag of marijuana? This took a lot of fucking weed to scrape this much off.
Yeah. And there's still plant material in most of the extracts anyways in small amounts.
The return would be maximum 10%. And this is a really generous way to extract trichomes in real ways when you do a dry sift trying to isolate only those heads, the only place where a cannabinoid exists.
Yeah.
It's only 3% return from your by weight. 3%.
That's by
Already
weight.
you're down 3%.
Yeah.
So,
Well, and that's pretty good.
so what are they saying now? So you look at this, and the THC contained inside of this is microscopic.
Right. Exactly.
The
Yeah, it's got a lot of other
cannabinoid,
stuff in there.
It's full of fucking resin. It's goo,
Yeah.
right? Like it is just fucking goo. Come on, folks. Have you never seen sap coming out of a pine tree? That's what this is.
Yeah.
It's a resin that this plant makes. The cannabinoids are in there.
Yeah.
But
It's not pure though.
they're saying that this wax can be as high as 90% THC. You wouldn't be able to you'd be able to see the THC if it was 90% of that.
Yeah,
you'd
it would
think.
Yeah, I know. No, I don't understand. I'm not getting how those percentages are actually calculated. And you know, it's funny because every time we've really tried to explore that with the guys from Steep Hill or wherever, we've never really had an actual, like a very good description or accurate, it seems like. They kind of fumble around and they've never really gotten it
Someday,
across.
the real scientists are going to get their hands on it and actually rip this apart, and they're going to, with their heads sheepishly held down, they're going to say, you know. And it won't matter, right? It just won't matter, because the only reason that marijuana percentages are tested now, and anyone cares, is because of prohibition, right? No one cares about percentage of THC in the bud other than because it's illegal, right? The prohibitionists tried to use it to give you some frame of reference of potency so that they could use that potency to make you afraid of it, right? And potency isn't even a good word because that has to do with alcohol, and alcohol is a fixed potency. You can actually make it 40% alcohol, and that's it. And it's going to affect you like 40% alcohol. 10% would be just different than 3%. Marijuana's not like that. They had no clue on how to measure its potency because the preparation of said bud varied so much, right? Not everybody grows good weed. We've all had lousy weed up till now. Just wait. You people who think that marijuana is strong now or has a lot of THC, and for some reason they've made THC the bad thing. It shouldn't have any. We need to hide CBD so we can give it to fucking babies. And you don't even know why. Right? There are studies out there suggesting that CBD does not work without THC. And what the fuck? It never has. It's always been high THC producing marijuana. That's what it's called. Oh, there's a bong coming my way.
Go ahead.
Just so,
Go ahead.
you know, this whole testing thing, the Green Supreme and others in the chat have mentioned the fact that, you know, and the Steep Hill guy has said the same thing. It's a measurement of the gas that's combusted. When you take a sample, you combust it, then it puts off the gases, and that's what they apparently are testing in the column of this smoky gas. And that's what they say the weight is, the weight of this gas. But even in that sense, and this is what I always wondered about, the same thing as people say it's about the actual bud. It's like if you have that amount of plant material being combusted, how could it possibly be the weight of the THC is actually that much? I just don't see how they could be so damn high. But maybe that's something that I'm not understanding. I'm obviously
well, I think
not
what
a chemist.
perhaps what's happening is that they're burning away everything that isn't a cannabinoid.
Right. Now that's getting closer.
And then they're going, okay, well, whatever's left over, THC is 23% of the cannabinoids.
Oh, sorry, it wasn't Green Supreme. It was I or L, whoever that is. X. Rom.
Is that the Amplane story?
H.
Well, we
This
have a
just
lot
in.
of jibber jabber. You know, when you Google how is THC measured, right?
Ah.
And you get Home
wrong.
Office reply from the Richard Mullins from the Drug Legislation and Enforcement Unit. Every fucking week, you know, there's a new enforcement unit or some special forces, this and that, you know, like.
That
who
is very true.
They're making this shit up, you know, like, I know they are. Like, who could keep track of all the... When I do a search in you know, U.S. government branches, they turn up nowhere, right? So
Oh,
they're
that's true. You can't find
self-proclaimed,
out
and
much.
I ask who's funding them and why are they
Yeah.
on here and
Exactly.
why
No.
does any of this fucking matter, right?
Now, here's the thing, too, about those who are freaking out about the wax and the youth and shit like that.
Oh, chill.
It's your fault. It's the prohibitionists' fault. It's law enforcement's fault that this shit even exists.
Yeah.
That your kids are even close to marijuana. Spread the word about that. It is their fault. It's not marijuana's fault. Young people wouldn't be making shatter and wax if it wasn't illegal. Swear to God, new study. Eh?
No shit.
When marijuana's not
they wouldn't need
illegal,
to.
kids are 1.6 times more likely to fucking shut up. Right? And would be able to tell them to. But no, it's prohibition's fault that any of this is going on. That your children even close to it. No different than alcohol. You don't seem to care that much that your children are actually dying from alcohol, which is under your control.
Yeah.
Right?
Show me the studies on that and why aren't
So-
they used comparatively? Right. Drinking and driving,
Yeah. They're-
overdosing.
Oh, they do not spend
Combination
nearly
of
the amount of
pills.
time worrying about youth and alcohol as they do about youth and marijuana, for Christ's sakes. A substance that probably would be better for the youth to be taken like mandatory.
Well, and I read
you
something
give them
else
marijuana in kindergarten.
Yeah, I read
Then
something
off
else
you go.
too. The kids are ripping off their parents' prescriptions. They're ripping off their parents' scripts. And
Well, they've taught that they need to get high. They've been taught that by their teachers to get high. Go out there and get high. People want to get high. Here's how they do it. Here's a picture. Here's some marijuana.
Yeah.
Here's what you call it on the street.
Yeah.
Now you know how to get it.
And the ads on the bus that they had, the conservative ads for ecstasy, which is like a picture of giant ecstasy pills on the bus. It's like a bunch of candies, all multicolored, all bright. It's like that just brings more. It's like advertising for the product. People see that. Every time I saw it, I'm like, damn, I'm getting some ecstasy.
Yeah, they've been called out on that though.
Yeah.
No,
they have done actual testing.
Manufactures something that looks or could look like a candy, but. You know, I know when I was 4, I was rushed to the hospital. I don't remember this, right? You know, but I just ate some of my mom's pills because they just, you know, they were there and they looked like candy. And it doesn't matter what the medication looks like.
Yeah, it's like...
And she needed this for some disorder. That she was missing something and she couldn't live without these pills, right? So, anyway, wow. So what does that say, right? Like pills and medication and... the role in society has been normalized for such a long time. It's really hard to convince people that it's bad.
Yeah.
Unless you offer them a viable alternative that, you know, you can prove, you know, even though there's no such thing, but you can have lots of evidence to support it. And under prohibition, it's impossible.
Now, if you're Boston Attorney General Mora, yeah, that's her name. Mora.
Like it, not Laura.
She's
but
Attorney
Mora?
General for the state, I think, but
Yeah.
Mora.
Okay.
She opposes marijuana legalization.
Of course.
Well, no, she said the police she's spoken with recently found a carefree attitude among youngsters caught smoking.
Carefree. Oh.
Yeah, that was the reason that she didn't think legalization should go ahead, is because of this carefree attitude.
We need them to be stressed out, unhappy.
Yeah. Some of the kids were even, and the police say it's happening more and more, the kids are saying, yeah, so what? That's what legalizing marijuana is going to do, Maura. The kids are going to be going, yeah, so what?
Right? Exactly.
And they're going to be carefree. Huh?
People are going to...
Fuck that. You don't want kids being carefree.
Well, these dummies, these dinosaurs are going to realize, you know, we can't lock up everybody. We can't put out forces for all this when there's so much else clearly wrong in the world, right? And
it's absolutely such a fucking circus out there around it. I've never seen any more childish nonsense. Like, if the politicians were saying the kinds of things that they say about marijuana with other industries...
they'd sound ridiculous.
Oh, they absolutely would. The sawmill industry is going to let them just make up shit saying, well, you'll fucking become impotent if you use a saw blade. Well, you could, conceivably, and everybody'd have a laugh. But they just don't and are not allowed, and it wouldn't be accepted for them to come up with shit like this about another thing that everybody knows is not that way. It's just because nobody really knows marijuana that well. It's not known by everybody to be as innocent as I think it is, and that Marc Elias would think it is.
I heard my name.
Just saying hi.
Hi.
Thanks.
I know. I'm experimenting. I don't know. What do you think?
Oh, I love it.
You love it?
Don't ask me if I like a beard. You know I do.
Should I show the world and ask them?
Sure.
Yeah, over here.
Here, have a seat.
Sit in the hot beard seat over here.
Take the hot seat. There you go.
So,
Here, I'll make sure it's not a crotch cam for you there.
Where are you? Oh, you were bud camming.
Yeah, we were bud camming.
so,
That's
yeah.
pot porn for...
Yeah, we don't want to crotch cam.
Here's remember that woman in Alaska who quit her job on TV.
Oh yeah.
And said that she vowed to get marijuana legalized
I love
in
her.
Alaska, which in fact they did. I don't know about whether Charlo Green had much to do with that or not, but anyway, the police raided her Alaska Cannabis Club, it was called. I think it were people kind of like here, where they bring their own weed and
Cool.
and smoke it.
She's
Alaska
stealing the
Cannabis
Vapor
Club.
Lounge idea.
So they raided her place. Yeah.
Yeah.
But she opened up the very next day, said, fuck you. we're doing what we want, and I like her attitude.
Yeah, she's a ballsy one.
Charlotte.
Yeah, I'd like to have her on the show, actually. I'm going to see if I can contact her.
Yeah. So
Call
the
her up.
Yeah.
Do a phone thing.
of course the
Old school
police spokesperson Jennifer cautioned that in Alaska it's important that people don't jump the gun. This is
In Alaska, right.
That was her choice of words.
Don't
jump the gun
Everything's guns in
until they
Alaska.
get their regulations figured out.
Because you might shoot a moose if you do.
Like, really. The police, they
Did you see
scare
the
me.
latest meme out there about the moose? The almighty moose? You're more likely to be killed in Canada by a moose than a terrorist.
Yeah, that's
That,
More people die of moose than a terrorist.
yeah, don't let
Yep.
old Stevie Harpy hear
There you
that.
go, Stevie Harvey.
they should have a war on moose. It's moose ISIS.
Moose are the most impressive fucking things. I was in Northern Ontario for a time, and I'll tell you, I saw a moose on this fucking road, like way north of Thunder Bay and shit, And this moose was giant. He
They're
blocked the
huge.
fucking road, and
They
I was
are
in awe and stopped the car to watch him. And then when he walked into the bush beside the road, I drove to that spot. There's no way I could walk through there. How the fuck he did that with those antlers is absolute. And stopped to listen, and there was no sound. There's no sound going on.
Moose.
You go, what the fuck? Where did this thing go?
Well, I think it's true. You can't really, when it comes to moose, you can't blame all moose for the crimes of just fundamentalist moose.
Some moose are angry.
That's right.
Yeah,
The fundamentalist moose are the really bad ones, and all the other ones are, they're okay.
I think the right word is extremist.
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 That's right.
Yeah.
Extremist mooses. Yeah, that's right.
Moose and squirrel.
Mooses.
Yes.
We'll call it mooses.
Oh yeah, Harper. He is. There was an interesting article in the Ottawa Citizen. I think it was somebody. Well, they came to the same conclusion as me, is that he's just like 10 years behind and doing everything that George Bush was doing to get all hooked up and into that game.
He just
right?
does it better.
The war machine, the oil machine, the fucking right. That's what he's up to. Oh, we're going to extend our mission into Syria because we've been wanting to go to Syria for 10 years.
Yeah.
To extend our mission.
Yeah.
Man, we have to keep extending
Any
our
excuse they
mission.
can find to get their greasy hands and bombs in there.
Is essentially exactly like the Patriot Act.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah,
It's his
Except
Patriot
there's
Act.
one major difference with versus the Patriot Act and Bill C-51. The Patriot Act has Senate oversight, so their parliamentarians essentially have oversight over the Patriot Act. They have oversight over the CIA and FBI, where our bill doesn't include that oversight. So we're actually worse than America right now.
This guy is he's not like Bush, he's like Nixon. Right? He
Yeah.
really is. He's like Nixon. I was alive when Nixon was going.
Yeah,
This
worse.
guy's
Idiot.
fucking nuts.
Yeah.
He is an egomaniacal, frightened fucking nutcase. Religious zealot goon is what he is. Like, really, I'll bet. The tapes will come out. I'm not
The
a
Harper
criminal,
tapes.
he'll say. Like
Oh,
Brian
man.
Mulrooney said. But you were a criminal. Eh?
No, he is a
Brian.
sleaze, and he's really, done more than any other prime minister to alter this country and change it
it's
from
all-
what
it's
it's.
these evil ways, right? It's
So
all about
C-51
money.
is going into its third reading.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
so
you know,
it's up
What's up with
to,
the Liberals
it's up
supporting
to,
it?
The Senate
Well,
one more time.
I'm not really gonna talk
much
about
faith?
that. Other than the fact that I'm kind of disappointed that we are supporting the bill.
Well, it's
But we intend on changing it to bring in the necessary oversight. I mean, there are terrorists and terrorist sympathizers in this country, and they do need to be watched. Some of them are, yeah. But let's specifically talk about guys like.
Let's specifically talk about why this law is being crafted in Canada by Canadian lawyers, and some people are theorizing, including bar associations, that this legislation is being created to observe and remove certain activists. They may have the ability.
Mainly Aboriginal activists,
right?
and
that they're being
and
targeted
environmentalists.
yet again.
Yes,
right?
mainly. I mean,
well,
the government's not really being very honest on who they are targeting.
Well, they're not being very honest about their own process, in that the Aboriginal people are the only people left who can legally stop the development and the resource extraction that's going on. Because,
well, Harper, he was here in town the other day.
Yeah, he was occupying a lot of airspace.
They flew around.
If you were wondering about those helicopters,
they had to land them. They had to land him on a roof downtown because he couldn't find a way in that wasn't being protested.
Yeah. It's disrupting your Saturday. Thank you. Right?
I saw that helicopter fly.
Yeah, it was low. It was loud. You know.
FBI or something. Nah, these goons are just bad news. So, of course.
And the secret police that go with him everywhere he goes, right?
Politics has become an ugly business, right? Really, really, really ugly. And then maybe it always was. And maybe just now it's become bigger and more evident, and they don't really care and can't hide it anymore, really. Like corporation and government and life has become so blurred that we don't know really the difference. You watch a car commercial on TV now, and they're playing a song that was just released on the radio today.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, so there's a tie-in to everything now that it goes around and around, and everybody's hooked up, and fucking P. Diddy can shoot people and become this guy, and then he can become, whatever, right?
Yeah, yeah.
It's just...
And it is
there's so much shit going on in the world. You're so blinded by information and stuff going on. And, I don't have any control of any of it. Not any of it. Not the hockey game last night. Not fucking nothing, right?
No.
I can just turn it on and off. That's all the control and influence I have over the world.
You know, I just wanted to say this one story that came out. We were just talking about Stephen Harper and his goon squad. Well, Stephen Harper appointed his top bodyguard to the position of, I think he's the ambassador or something, or he's one of the top people at the embassy in Jordan. He's an ambassador, yeah. And this is Harper's former top bodyguard. Now, a couple weeks ago in the news, an article came out in the Ottawa Citizen and in the National Post that brought attention to the fact that Turkish police arrested this guy smuggling in British ladies to be brides of ISIS. British kids, they're girls, young girls, to be brides of ISIS. They were 17-year-old girls.
That pedophile ring that they busted.
Oh, it was 15 and 16. I thought they were 17.
That pedophile ring they busted.
Yeah,
in the
no,
UK?
well, that's a different one. But this is them arresting this.
One.
And you know what he said? He said he worked for Canadian intelligence and that he had permission to do the whole thing from Harper's guy, from the top bodyguard of the embassy, or Harper's former top bodyguard, who is now the guy head of the embassy. Yeah.
Well, people...
And he said he had paperwork for it and everything. Disappeared from the headlines after the first couple articles.
Murdered and missing women all over the world for a long time have alleged this. And only now the evidence is coming through. I mean, look at that ship that was from the U.S. Navy that was being used for transporting women. Look at every day, they're uncovering something.
I'm going to share the links to this article.
Involving women and children. And it's in tandem, really. Like the violence that's committed against women and children and the violence against the earth are together. It's the same thing. It's the same thing. They're the same thing. They're one and the same.
They're using their armies to move their ugly shit around the planet, too, right? They're not checked. There's nothing. They can move whatever they want. Gold, drugs, people... whatever, and they do. That's why they go to these places. No, it's a big business. It's got nothing to do with safety. It's got nothing to do with religion. It's got nothing to do with nothing. It's business. You know how much fucking Tomahawk missiles cost?
Yep.
And guns and boots and fucking the billions and billions and billions. You can spend that in an afternoon. And they like that. And the people who do that become very powerful. And they have the weapons. So they become even more powerful. They're not pointing them at each other. Fucking Iraq's in on it. Syria's in on it. Come on. They got weapons, too, that they use up and they spend, and they're suppliers, right? And Canada's become now into this weapons-selling industry.
Yeah, they're bucking to be the
Speaking
biggest
of
arms dealer since the States.
the war in the Middle East there, it's funny because ISIS is in control of some oil refineries, and they're selling oil and diesel and gasoline. But guess who they're selling it to? Their sworn enemy, Bashar Assad and his regime. All right? So it's true that everybody's intertwined, and there is a serious profit to be made from this war. But there is also, we cannot, discount the fact that ISIS is evil. I mean, they straight up are evil. They're going around killing minorities. I'm a Coptic Christian.
You know who does that? You know what Sean Penn just said on David Letterman, and Sean Penn is exactly right. ISIS was created by the U.S. government. ISIS is the U.S. government, essentially. It was completely created by them. They were using them to fight other groups. This is their baby that they made.
I've never heard what their demands are. They've never come out in the world and said, hey.
Oh, they have.
What is it?
I'm Arabic. I'll tell you, their number one demand is they actually want to turn all the Arabic countries and the Muslim countries, but the Arabic countries first, to be under one caliphate, where all the Arabic countries are going to be under Sharia law, meaning you can get executed for being an apostate, you can get executed for speaking against a religion, you're going to have to live an extremist Islamic version of life where, in countries like Egypt, Cairo is a very metropolitan city. Although there are supporters of that ideology living in Cairo, there's more people who are opposed to living that way. But if they were under a caliphate and the caliphate has the weapons, they have no choice.
But who gives these people their power?
The people who give them the weapons.
Right, bingo.
Right? And that's the bottom line. We have to stop weaponizing these people. Like, the Americans dropped a whole bunch of weapons to fight the Assad regime, and obviously they knew that these weapons would end up in the wrong hands. Now the wrong hands have taken over big parts of Syria and Iraq. It's
not an ideology. No one gives a shit about what you think about anything. It's about weapons.
Yeah, well, if you take away the weapons, who cares what they fucking
Weapons
think?
they're
not going to be able to behead
Really?
a whole bunch of people.
Well,
shoot an old lady in the head in a public execution with an imam explaining why she's getting executed. You take away that gun, they're not going to be able to shoot that woman in the head.
Well,
and if they're preaching hate and you have laws against hate,
you'd have to get rid of the
we
guns.
do in Canada, they just end up in jail. There would be no war.
But ISIS is the theater for all of this. This is just some shit for us to chew on, to make us talk about it and make us fight about it and everything. They are totally insignificant on the large scale, because think of they chop some people's heads off, yes, but what do our bombs do to these innocent civilians when they fall on top of them all the time in mass amounts, not by the small amount of people that ISIS can kill, but by the million when our bombs are dropping, blowing their bodies to bits? It's not just decapitating them. Actually, getting your head chopped off is a pretty quick and easy way to die. What if you have your fucking legs blown off and your family killed? And troops, coming through your town, and this shit is crazy. So ISIS,
the ironic sound of the bomb going off is not kaboom, but ka-ching.
Yeah.
As it explodes, right? Because now they got to rebuild it. Now they got to fucking get more bombs. Now they got to shoot a bomb towards them. It is worth the most money on the planet. Weapons. So the fight to go on to they can't stop war. They just can't stop. So it doesn't matter what ISIS says or what anyone else says or wants, or who gives a fuck.
If you get rid of ISIS, there's going to be
Well,
a
yeah,
vacuum,
they have to
and
get-
someone else will replace them.
And they know
And
who that's
instead
gonna
of
be and
being
where
an
that's gonna happen.
Islamofascist, all right, there'll be some sort of other fascist
There
who,
has to be.
like,
If you are the most powerful organizations on the planet with all the fucking money and the weapons and the very desire to keep selling weapons, you must have a plan to use them. There has to be a plan to use them. So the people who push the buttons in the United States with Obama and his war machine that he has, Putin has people that pushes his buttons because they are the war machine that he has, and everybody has their war machine, and everybody has the guys who they get their weapons from, right?
And all those guys are assholes.
The
You know?
Middle East has been perfect for it. If it was not planned since 1948 to be that way, right? To be that way, we will always have a war here to fight. And they went, well, that would be great. Let's have a whiskey.
They like this. This is great.
That's all they care about it.
You know what you
It's
can...
got nothing to do with a belief that I have compared to what somebody else has. I don't believe in the history of history that it's ever been about that, really. It's about your land, it's your money, your cows, your women, your money. Right? But they, in history, have set them apart from each other by calling them Christians and this and that, and they followed this flag into the war. Well, the Crusades, for Christ's sakes, when they all split off to save the Holy Land, the Pope went, hey, wait a second. Haven't you fucking guys read the Bible? You can't be doing this right off to fucking kill people. So they had a big meeting, and eventually the Pope said, well, if you do it in the name of God, then that'd probably be all right. So that's why they all put the cross on their shield and rode off.
In the name of God.
They killed more Christians on the way to the Holy Land than they killed.
It's true.
And they killed everybody. Like, it was just a killing spree. And the only reason that those men rode out of fucking Europe to do that was for the gold. It wasn't to save the Holy Land. It was for the gold. Gold, and they knew it, and it's common knowledge.
That's what it's still about. It's all about the money.
It's not the Holy Crusades. It was a fucking gold rush. It was like Alaska and California.
Yeah. Oh, man, and the weapons thing is like this gold rush. You know, this ISIS thing is crazy to me because ISIS would have nothing at all, without the media attention they get. And it's not even necessarily about the weapons they have and stuff. You know, there's all these like other countries where bad things are happening in Africa and in Asia and in look at Mexico and the drug war. Hey, they even are recording it just like ISIS is. They have all the videos. If you really want to watch like horrifying videos, you can watch the Mexican drug war videos. They're just as bad as the ISIS videos, but they're not played on the news every night. And, you know, there was this, you know, Anonymous, the group, the hackers. Well, they just went and a whole bunch of them got together and released a whole bunch of the Twitter accounts where ISIS is doing their recruiting and pushing out their videos and stuff. And they gave them all to Twitter. They, like, investigated them and handed them over to Twitter for Twitter to shut them all down. Well, the U.S. intelligence community, the spooks in the CIA, said, no, we don't want them all shut down because that's how we, like, watch them and stuff. So we should allow them to continue to recruit and everything. But if they shut them all down, they'd have nothing. They wouldn't even exist anymore. They're like, no, it'll push him underground to the black internet. It was like, well, Anonymous will get him there too.
Complicated stuff, kids.
Yeah, no, I think that it's these spooks, they want it. They need an enemy to fight, so they invent an enemy. If you don't have an enemy, you make an enemy. And then you tell them that they're attacking your people, and that's how you maintain your power.
I saw this very weird thing.
Weaponize your enemy.
I saw this very unusual thing on TV the other day involving Oprah.
Oh.
She was visiting this fucking weird cult city or fucking town or whatever.
Yeah, the creepiest thing I've seen in a long time.
FLDS or something it's called. It's an offshoot of the
Mormons.
The Mormons,
yeah,
and then
they look like
weird
pilgrims, right? Little
But
pilgrims.
in this community, Oprah was there interviewing the kids and saying, who's heard of Humpty Dumpty? And nobody raised their hand. Who's heard of Cinderella? Nobody raised their hand. Who's heard of Mickey Mouse? Nobody raised their hand. And You go, wow.
Yeah, there's a picture
They're
of this
just
guy up like an image, right? Like a godhead image, right? No, he's a living guy, right?
Living guy.
Yeah, and now he's in jail
He's in
because
jail?
he was caught marrying.
name?
He was
Jeff
caught marrying.
something?
He was. Can I
Jeff.
finish? He was caught
Warren
marrying
Jeff.
a
Warren
12-year-old
Jeff.
girl,
Yeah, it was all
and had various wives who
He had,
you know,
like, 50
society
wives.
considers underage. Right?
All
Like,
under
something
16
the
when
whole
they
religion
married.
is based on
Yeah.
polygamy, right? From the
Polygamy
beginning, and
and-
then they said, okay,
and
no
child
more
sexual
polygamy,
abuse,
and
yeah.
these people broke off because they wanted more polygamy, and that's what they were doing. But at any rate, the thing that struck me about that moment with Oprah and those kids not knowing who Mickey Mouse was, even though they were fucking little robot weirdos, you went, wow, how refreshing. Eh?
Send my kids to that.
On one level, it is.
You go, and I thought to myself, wow, what about the power of the fucking media, the assault all your fucking life about Mickey Mouse and McDonald's and every kid knows and fucking and you go, wow, if you don't tell them, they don't know.
Yeah, I think that part of it's beautiful.
That's how you protect
not
your
being
kids.
forced into a
Don't
colonized
tell them.
version of what culture is. Right?
Now they're going to find out anyway now.
Via
Well, you
Disney.
know,
Yeah, at the right
I'm
age,
sure we're
under
all
the right
aware.
circumstances. Oh, you'll find out behind the fence when you're 14.
This shit's
You
actually.
don't tell them at fucking when you're 6.
Oh, yeah.
You go, what? I can't. It makes no sense. But
No, it's pretty crazy.
It's crazy, and it's here in BC. The FLDS is in a. They've
Yeah, they got a
created their
place
own
here,
town in the Kootenays,
wait, here's
Called
another thing that
Bountiful,
struck me as weird about
and they're
it.
split right now. But both the leaders, because there's two sects all living in the same town, and both leaders of each sect have just recently been rearrested again. And
You get to be that guy though, and like Warren Jeffs or whatever his name was.
it's because of
He's a prophet, right? And
yeah,
they all
his
follow
dad
him,
was a
and you go,
prophet.
how the fuck do you convince people of that?
It's because
Like I say, I can see you can convince your buddy that you're that guy. You know, I'm the prophet, and you guys should fucking worship me. And your buddy goes, yeah, okay, well, I'll go along with that, right? But it's the next person, right, that you got to convince now, and the 2 or 3 after that, and nobody goes, hey, wait a second,
is
now are you?
they're
how did you
born
get to
into
be?
it, right? They're born into it. They live in isolated communities. These are generations. I mean, all
Yeah, I
these, like Warren Jeffs was born into it because his dad was a, yeah,
They're
exactly,
they're
and he just
sick
was
boys.
the heir. His granddad was also one of the heirs. It goes all the way to Joseph Smith, the Mormons' first prophet, you know, and
It's,
yeah, just like the South Park episode. But
all
I
right,
mean,
well,
it's
we should probably get out of here.
it's a messed up society where, you know, we live in these two countries, Canada and the United States, and these people are just allowed to set up their own towns and isolate themselves and abuse children.
Well, that's
And
the issue.
the laws restrict us from doing
Religion.
anything about it, you know, and that's
So
the
I
thing.
think-
Like,
Helping the kids now.
uh,
Kid, they can do something about it.
you want to know something, but the kid actually has to make a complaint. Without that kid's complaint, there's nothing that can be done.
Those kids ain't complaining. You
Exactly.
should
They're
see how
not
they were
complaining.
dressed.
They're born into it. We need to change the laws where the kids don't actually have to make the complaints. Like, if it's evident, you know, when a 54-year-old man is marrying an 8-year-old girl, and it's evident, and you've, like, you know, and witnesses are saying this, because there are witnesses, but we're not
Oh, yeah,
giving
brutal.
them, like, yeah, we should be, we shouldn't even allow them to, like, isolate themselves and build their own town. I mean,
Oh, if I want to build my own town, I should be able to do it, as long as I'm not hurting anyone.
yeah, but you'd have to live
I want my own
under
town.
the provincial guidelines, you
Marijuana
know, of listing yourself as a town.
All that.
Yeah,
Well,
well,
We'll
you
call
know,
it
we
marijuana.
need some order.
You're not hurting anyone, but I mean, marrying.
how do you make sure no one's? Yeah, how do you make sure no one's hurting anyone?
That's hurting somebody.
Yeah, it is exactly. We've
So
gotta
here's
shut
something.
these-
Here's some good news to end on. Pot charges in Colorado are down 95%.
Of course they are.
95%.
What's that last five?
Well, you know,
Probably
The
people trying to
5%.
export
those
it.
black people.
Black people.
What?
Yes.
course.
The,
Get outta here.
the racial disparity is still
Very
way
present.
out of whack, apparently.
Disproportionate.
Now, here's something that the top cop, Tom, had to say about that. They say the darndest things, these cops.
Tom?
Racial disparities exist in other laws. Does that mean that homicide, rape, and weapons laws are racist too?
The answer is yes.
Absolutely.
Well, no. I
Well,
say no.
in-
Cops are racist.
In either country,
Laws cannot possibly
Listen,
be
you know
racist.
what?
black and indigenous and other minorities
how they're
are way
applied.
If
overrepresented.
a black
so,
guy gets
you know.
killed by a cop every 28 hours in any other country in the world, we would be putting sanctions on those countries. We would be like, there'd be some serious consequences. In America, it happens. Every 28 hours, a black man is killed
Well,
by
it's
the
not
police.
only Black lives that matter. It's there's all kinds of people that are getting it. Like they've been doing the Starlight tours for years. They've been, taking our people outside and shooting them for a long time, right?
Oh, yeah.
And it's the most underreported crime. Usually, it's
Because
involving quite a few
who's
other
gonna
people
report
that
the cops?
Don't want to talk to the police. That will never talk to the police. Consider that a real dishonor, and would rather die than talk to the police. So it's not going to happen. It's just,
But
That was good news.
pot charges are
Yeah.
down 95%.
It's like the other 5%.
So
Goodness.
no, it's going to spread like wildfire, and marijuana will prevail, right? It has. They tried to burn it down with armies and cops and life imprisonment, and they lost. They're not going to get any further ahead by legalizing it
Yeah, they
with their
legalized,
prohibition eyes,
They
right?
legalized hemp in
Those who
Mexico.
want to prohibit, they're not going to get very far. They're going to legislate all these rules, and they're going to come up with all these rules, and they're all going to fall away. And we're going to say, fuck you, and we're going to do what we would like to do with marijuana anyway. Because you made it an underground thing. And it's well established in the underground, and that's not ever going to go away. So reckon with that, and
Hey, and you know what?
let's go ahead, right?
Too
So-
many people have died. Too many people have been locked up, all because of a stupid law prohibiting.
Oh yeah, and the
A
idea
plant.
of legalizing it, and just a choice few are making millions. That,
Yeah,
to me,
and see, this is how they're
it's,
trying to
unacceptable.
seep it back into our society by letting a few people fucking control it all. Well, fuck you. I don't care about you stupid LPs who think you're going to take over the market when it becomes legal. I don't care. Got enough seeds in my fucking pocket to start it all over again. And so do a million people, because you drove it underground. Right? I look at Tilray's fucking list of strains that they sell, and there are strains that I can buy on the street. They're all just recreational names. They're not medicinal at all. They're nothing. They're just growing weed, just like everybody else is always growing weed. Right? And all the rest of them are doing the same. It's all bullshit. They're all rushing to make millions, and they're making millions. They're allowed to go fucking honest. You idiots in the stock market who are investing in all of this shit. I keep seeing in Forbes magazine and Fortune magazine, they go, oh, well, it's a little hazy whether or not we should invest in this. And you go, yeah, you're fucking right it is, pals, because you're all going to lose your money.
Well, they've legalized hemp in Mexico. Do you think that'll change the price of hemp products and things that'll be available to us?
Hope so.
I really hope so too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
hemp
that's
will
good
sweep the
news.
world.
Right?
So it's all just blather right now. So it makes me laugh. But it's time for us to go. So thanks for joining us today.
You have a song about that, don't you?
Yeah. I hope everybody had fun in the chat song. Where'd Vlad go? He was gonna. Well, I can't.
He's in the back playing with the guitar by
can't-
himself in the closet.
Can't do it now, is he? Playing guitar in the
he
closet.
really is.
He's on LSD, I think, today.
I think he's high again. Yeah.
Well, thanks to Jeremiah and
there he is. He wants to- someone
and
wants
Marc joining us today here on the couch.
Hey, thanks for having me, everybody.
Was there somebody else on the couch before that?
Jer.
Jer was here with
Jer
the
was
yeah.
here.
Thanks to him
Snake
for
in the
rolling the
grasses.
snake in the grass.
Disappeared.
He got us all
Big fat joint. That was a nice joint.
blasted.
Got us
It was
ripped
delicious.
around.
Thanks to Rose for being here too and holding the fort with us.
Hey.
And we're glad all you people had a chance to tune in too. Thanks to Mr. Cookie for looking after the desk while we're doing this. Come on down to the Seed Bank any day of the week and pick up your fine genetics from all over the world and right here. 7 days a week we're there. I'm there Tuesday through Saturday. Love to see you anytime. And stop in, see Marc in the store when he's around down at the Cannabis Culture headquarters. He's dabbing you. So, and get ready for 420 coming up. We're planning it all now. Come on down.
Entertainment.
Oh,
speakers,
there'll be stuff.
lots of
There'll be
people.
so much stuff.
Stuff
A lot of stuff.
and more stuff. And then
90,
of
95%
Marijuana
more
for
stuff.
sale.
stuff.
Yeah.
Marijuana for sale.
So we'll keep you posted on that. Well, I'm Marijuana Man. Thanks for tuning in. Peace and pot.